Well, hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shooting Show, and friends, welcome to this week's program. A beautiful fall afternoon out here on the range, and I tell you what, I can't think of a better thing to be doing outside than come out on the range and enjoy shooting. I'm holding what, if memory serves correct, first gun I ever shot back about 45, 47, 48 years ago. Whenever I was about 4 or 5 when I shot my first gun, and this is an old Winchester single shot 22. And you know, friends, that's a great heritage that I and many of you share all over this country. There's such fond memories when we went out with a parent or a relative or a friend and they taught us how to shoot a gun, whether it be a handgun like this 1911 or certainly even this 22 single shot. These were terrific guns for instruction, terrific guns for even small game hunting. I mean, heck, we were taught that you probably only gonna get one shot anyway, so make the shot count. You know, this sort of philosophy is what helped hone the skills of Alvin York and many others in our military. When they got to the military, they already knew how to shoot guns. We have a society today that's trying to make little boys and little girls and make the little girls do what they're told. Our children are not being taught to think or to reason. They're being taught to follow orders. Follow orders. Do what you're told. You know, right now in our country, we knew that the loonies would come out of the woodwork once this tragedy we got a little farther away from the tragedy that happened in New York. We knew the loonies would come out of the woodwork. The ACLU is starting to come out from under the rock that they normally hide under when things are too hot for them. And now we say, I don't know if you know what this is. This is a stun gun. That's what this is. It's a stun gun. And right now, some goofy individual from the Airline Pilots Association said, well, let's give the pilots and the crew, let's give them stun guns. Well, I have evidence to present to you from the Rodney King beatings, the videotape of the Rodney King beating, on just how effective a stun gun is, because that's what a taser is. It's just a longer distance stun gun. No, they don't work on everyone. And the stun gun, the thing is, if someone had, here's a lowly box cutter, no serial number. I paid 99 cents at a gas station for a set of box cutters. You know, hey, that blade comes, you might even call it a switchblade. You know, zap, there it is. 99 cents at a gas station, no serial number on it, a box cutter. The worst terrorist disaster in our country's history. Twice as many people, more than twice as many people killed as were killed at Pearl Harbor, committed with lowly box cutters. You see, friends, that's what we've been saying the whole time. People can make weapons out of darn near anything, and I tell you what, we think we're going to be so careful in screening. Yeah, we're going to, heck, let them do body cavity searches. Let them, one of our viewers called up, listeners called up, said, look, shrink wrap the passengers, put them in leg irons, put them in handcuffs. You know, is that going to make people feel better? Well, what about the maintenance personnel? Oddly enough, there were box cutters found taped under seats on other aircraft that no one possibly could have gotten through screening with even a lowly box cutter. Suddenly, they found them taped on the streets. You know, somebody with hundreds of millions of dollars like Osama bin Laden, hey, the baggage handlers, the maintenance personnel, there may be some Islamics in them. Probably are. I bet any amount of money there are some Islamics in there. And some of them subscribe to Osama bin Laden's philosophy. You can get a weapon on a plane. This is not hard. This is not the hard logic. You can get a weapon on a plane. What's it going to cost? Somebody's making $7, $8 an hour, give him $100 grand to put a box cutter under a seat. You think he's going to do it? Wipe fingerprints off? You think sure he's going to do it. No way it can be traced, and suddenly with an unarmed crew and an unarmed staff, you've got zap. You got people with their throats cut. You know what works 100% of the time against this? 100% of the time, this does. 100% of the time, a gun always beats a knife in a knife fight, unless someone is right on top of you and you can still defend yourself while you're getting cut to ribbons. You can still defend yourself with a gun. You know, the idiocy. Take a knife like this knife from cold steel. All right, got a stun gun here. Before you can use a stun gun effectively, one, you're going to be in a wrestling match. You've got to be, guess what, within touching distance. While you're trying to stun them, and you may not nail them on the first or second, you can be stabbed with a knife or get your throat cut with a box cutter. And let me tell you what, these Islamic terrorists have been to training camps. They've been to combat school. So you're going to have a stewardess with a stun gun and say, oh, get back, let me stun you, oh. You know, they're going to get cut to ribbons. That's crazy. Crazy. That's the kind of logic that is running our federal government. I'm sorry about this. That's why we're here. That's why we're on the radio. But literally, see, realize if our government okays the arming of pilots, guess what that says? The passengers are going to say, wait a minute. That captain's got a handgun or shotgun, whatever. They're going to say, wait a minute. I can do that. And you know what? They're right. They can do it. We can do it. 7,000 times every day in our country, firearms are used in the hands of civilians to stop crime, prevent a rape, protect a home, defend a family. 7,000 times a day, right here. Of course, hey, those are the facts. Well, don't let the facts get in the way of their paradise fantasy. You see, if the government starts sanctioning armed pilots, here's the deal. The anti-gun people know it's going to set the gun control or really elimination movement back decades, maybe 100 years. Because people are saying, wait a minute, and by the way, gun sales are right now running off the chart nationally. So people, our general public's not as stupid as the anti-gun people. Sarah Brady and her crowd, they're so concerned about guns in the hands of citizens. Yeah, well, they ought to be. They ought to be, because government is concerned about the hands of the citizens. If a government is afraid of its citizens, the citizens should be suspicious and afraid of their government. Now, I'm very hopeful that Osama bin Laden can be caught. I do not want to catch him at the expense of our Constitution. There's no need in that. We've had people asleep at the switch in Washington all these years, certainly under the Clintonista regime, literally asleep at the switch, tried to give away. What about giving the Chicoms our nuclear missile technology? What about that? What about that? No, you don't hear about that now. What about having the most lax border situation in the country's history because the sorry Democrats, and yeah, they are the sorry Democrats, they care more about votes than they care about our country. That's what they are. Some Republicans too. But mostly the sorry Democrats who care more about getting numbers so they can stay in their high and mighty offices.
Rake in the money.
All for power. Well, I'll tell you what, we even heard an argument this week that what if a pilot's armed, he and the co-pilot get in an argument and they start shooting each other in the cockpit? If that's not the dumbest thing I ever heard of. You know, people have guns, but don't go around shooting each other. Every place in our country that concealed carry has been tried, it always lowers crime, no exceptions. Every place, 100%, 100%. They don't want to hear that. You know, this is a can of Hornet and Wasp Killer. Look at him. You spray this on somebody, you know, it'll go way out, go about 20 feet. Go way out there, you know. What's to prevent somebody from picking this up in a store and walking around and shooting everybody? What? You see, you can make somebody sick, put out their eyes. Terrible thing. Terrible, dangerous. You can light this stuff too. Oh, look, it's bad. But people don't do that. That's crazy. Presumption of the people who wrote our Constitution is there were more sane people than there are crazies. Unfortunately, we've got a high percentage of crazies running our government right now. What about a car? Easiest thing in the world. Say, whoa, you get a car. They say, well, if you get a gun, you may want to shoot somebody. Well, what about having an automobile? How easy is it to run over somebody? Hey, I like that pedestrian right there. Let's see if we can get him, you know. And no, we don't do that. There are a few crazies. You know what'll stop that? A gun. You know, friends, it is a sorry shape we've come to. That's why we're here. Most of us out here in America still deal in reality, unlike the politicians, unlike these so-called policy makers. And I tell you what else. This Islamic thing, and now everyone's trying to arm up with the Islamics. And I'm sorry, and I'm sure there are some nice and decent people out there that unfortunately are caught up in that occult Islamic faith. Nothing I can do about that. Nothing I can do. I'm sure there's some decent people who wouldn't hurt anybody else. I'm sure there are. But let me tell you what, their religion teaches them that there are rewards when they go kill the infidel. And we've got a lot of those people, a lot of them came in from Iraq. Even some of the Republican Guard came in from Iraq, and these people are nuts. Some of these hijackers were in this country for 5 years. So no, a stun gun will not get it. Stun gun for certain applications has its place. It's useful in some things, always backed up by a gun. Pepper gas has its applications in some places, always backed up by a gun. That's why we're here, friends. That's why we're here, is talk about things that have to be talked about. The only defense against a weapon like this, a knife like this, is somebody starts the only defense. The only defense is a firearm. Or you better be able to run real fast. Suppose you can't run. Suppose you can't escape. You want to wrestle with somebody who's wielding one of these in close proximity. You're in an aircraft or wherever, and you're wrestling, trying to keep from getting cut. What you gonna do? If there's two of them, what you gonna do to protect your family over here while your wife's being brutalized or your kids are being killed? What's the deal? How you gonna do that? Well, thankfully, you can shoot this one quickly. You can shoot the one over there if you have to. You know, I tell you what, friends, we are in a battle for our civilization. And one of the best things about our country, the reason that we're still free, is because of the gun culture. It's because some of us believe in the right of the citizen to defend himself or herself. And some of us are not going to quit. We're not going to go away. We've got to reclaim our school system. They're teaching children now guns are evil, so we can be disarmed. Say, well, if they can't get you and I, okay, all right, wait 10 years. They'll get our kids. And if we can't get them, we'll get the group after that. So they're teaching them in school that guns are bad. Well, we've got to reclaim our educational system. Our work's cut out for us, friends. Would you like to see us continue on the air? Would you like to see us get running where we can get our network going? You can help us stay on the air. You know, if everyone watched this show contributed $1 a week, we'd have more money than we knew what to do with. Most people won't. And I don't know what it's going to take. I guess people think it's defeated. They think we have plenty of money, nothing can be further from the truth. I'll tell you what we've got. We've got plenty of information. We've got plenty of enthusiasm. And we've got plenty of determination with your help. With your help. That's why we're here. If you want to help us, our standard address, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Double A, Louisiana, zip code 71024, if you want to help us. Because it's got to be done, friends. It's got to be done. Some of us are not going to quit. I hope that you're part of this group that won't quit. I hope so. We've got a great show for you. Let's get another shooting show underway.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, this is the new Georgia Arms 20th anniversary catalog. Of course, has a memorial there to our good friend Jim Clark there on the cover. This is a terrific catalog from the finest ammunition maker in the United States. They have all kinds of great prices on all sorts of ammunition: 243 Winchester, 270s, 7.62 by 39 Russian, all kinds of great stuff. They've even got 308 tracers, 30-06 tracers, all kinds of neat stuff here in this great new Georgia Arms catalog. They have components if you want to load your own ammo, and look here, we've got the shooting show with our new 460 Rowland kit on sale as well. Georgia Arms has the best prices for custom grade ammunition that I'm aware of in the United States, and guess what else? They're helping to support our shooting show. Friends, give them a call today. Free phone call, free catalog, 1-800-624-6861, 1-800-624-6861 from Georgia Arms, and please remember to tell them that you heard it and saw it here on our program. Friends, what we're looking at here is a new gun from Clark Custom Guns, certainly great friends of ours and tremendous craftsmen. They make our 460 kits, but they make a lot of other stuff too. This has been one of the most successful guns for the Clark package. This is the Ruger 1022, and you can see here on the bolt itself, Clark guns, and you'll notice here there are some extra attachments on the trigger. That's a trigger stop there, and of course this gun has a roughly a 2.5, 3 pound trigger. Now we had a scope that we had on another gun with these see-through mounts, but these Clark 22s are really jewels to shoot. And we'll shoot this gun in just a moment. We've got our target out there. We're going to run. Let's see, we've got several kinds of ammunition here. We've got some CCI mini mags. We've got some CCI mini group. This is standard velocity. We've got some Ely match ammunition, which again is lower velocity, and we have some Lapua Dominators, and a lot of people are using this ammunition as well. Now Federal has some new 22 long rifle ammo. We don't have any here today that is showing superior performance, but Clark Custom Guns was nice enough to loan us this gun. I will show you something here. See these see-through mounts? Now we don't have sights. This is made for if you're up close and you need your open sight. See, you can actually look under the scope. If there were open sights on this gun, you could see it. Of course, the sights on this barrel have been removed. This is a Walther barrel that Clark installs on their guns. And like I said, we took this off another gun that we had handy that went on the Clark gun. But let me show you the real difference. And this is different from the other Clark heavy barrel guns. And yes, we know that these guns are empty. Of course, we got the bolt open here on the single shot as well, and we have triple checked this 22. Notice the end of the barrel. See the crown? It's got a little recess there. That's to protect the rifling, because these are very, very fine target grade barrels that Clark's installed. See the diameter here of your standard Ruger. In fact, I think the Ruger's even smaller than this. This is old Winchester. And compared to this diameter here. Now, what sets this particular gun apart from a package that we're familiar with and what we call bull barrels is that Clark's has slim. This is not what was called a bull barrel. It is a medium. It is a between diameter barrel, and what the craftsmen there at Clark Custom Guns have done is they cut 1/5 of an inch all the way around this gun, 200 thousandths, actually 200 thousandths, which boils down to 1/5 of an inch. They trimmed it from the standard bull barrel configuration, literally cut the barrel weight in half. So you talk about your squirrel hunter's dream, easy to carry, and it's displaying all the accuracy of the Clark Custom Guns bull barrel gun, as well as some of the factories that are now offering, including Ruger, offering heavy barrel guns. So what they've done, they literally cut the barrel weight in half while retaining all the accuracy that these great barrels have from Clark's.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
Appearing as a guest on the nationally syndicated Diane Rehm radio show on September 26th of 2001, the liberal journalist Haynes Johnson, a former columnist for the Washington Post, was asked for his reaction to the murderous acts of terrorism on September 11, 2001. He replied in part that he was shocked that such carnage and destruction could be caused by 19 hijackers, quote, without a handgun. Of course, to unimaginative anti-gun, anti-self-defense liberals like Johnson, the gun, an inanimate object, is intrinsically evil. To Johnson, handguns just had to have been used by the hijackers on September 11, except that handguns were not used. Knives and box cutters were used. Thus, Johnson was shocked. One of the good things that appears to be coming out of the horrible events of September 11 is a sharp change in attitude regarding guns and self-defense, specifically a change in attitude on the part of some concerning the wisdom of allowing pilots and passengers to carry firearms. On June 28, 1985, the Associated Press quoted Captain Tom Ashwood, a security specialist for the Airline Pilots Association, ALPA, as saying, "We're opposed to sky marshals. We're opposed to guns in our airplanes, whether they are good guns or bad guns." A truly incredible statement. On June 17, 1986, the AP quoted John Mazur, a spokesman for ALPA, saying, "We have a very deep philosophical problem with carrying guns aboard aircraft," end quote. On a May 10, 1998 editorial, the far-left pro-gun control St. Louis Post-Dispatch newspaper, supporting laws against carrying guns on airplanes, asked, "Have we really reached the point where the only social compact we believe in is a society of armed individuals all fending for themselves?" End quote. On July 6, 1998, on the Talkback Live program on CNN, the host Steve Bartleson said, "Thank goodness there aren't guns on airlines," end quote. A guest on this show, Pat Friend, international president of the President for Flight Attendants, said that putting armed guards on planes was not an issue I've ever discussed, nor is it anything that I advocate. Another guest, David Fuscus, a spokesman for the Air Transport Association, said putting armed guards on aircraft was, quote, probably not a very good idea, end quote. Well, thank God, it looks like for some folks, this kind of irrational fear of guns, at least on airplanes, is changing. As reported in the New York Times on September 25th of this year, Dwayne Worth, president of ALPA, is now for cockpit crews being allowed, but not required, to carry handguns. And yes, this is the same Dwayne Worth who just days before his current position told a Senate subcommittee that pilots should not be, quote, Sky King and Wyatt Earp at the same time, end quote. And the previously quoted Mr. Mazur now says that although the arming of pilots would be a radical step, it has the overwhelming support of ALPA's 67,000 members. An article in USA Today, September 25th, reports that retired United Airlines pilot David Lindsay not only favors arming of pilots, he also believes passengers should be allowed to bring guns on board. Said Lindsay, "Nobody will go into the cockpit facing 3 guns." One of the most courageous and articulate defenses of allowing armed pilots has been made in a letter to the editor of the Wall Street Journal on September 21st by Brad Rodenberg, a captain for American Airlines. Noting how utterly absurd it is that thousands could be murdered by people with box cutters, he writes in part, "I'm told by my airline's flight office that the FAA feels pilots shouldn't have weapons because they might be taken away and used." Well, what if our airplanes are taken away and used? If we make ourselves helpless, we've already done half the terrorist work for him. Rodenberg says he's spoken with other pilots who have sharpened their belt buckles, screwdrivers, pens, and so forth so that they might have a prayer of defending their $30 million jets from guys with box cutters. He adds, "We need a last line of defense to keep hijackers out of the cockpit. Federal agents from even the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, Department of Agriculture, Department of Education, and the Smithsonian Institution are allowed to carry guns on commercial airlines. Why not the pilots who are responsible for the aircraft? Many of us already have better firearms training than provided to those agencies, and we're willing to get more at our own expense." Rodenberg concludes with a quote from Benjamin Franklin, "If you make yourselves sheep, the wolves will eat you." Amen. Still amazingly, even now there are those who do not get it. The previously mentioned Pat Friend says on the NBC Nightly News of September 25th, "I hate the idea that we have to talk about putting guns on airplanes and arming pilots," end quote. And in this same news report, Daniel Plavin of the Airports Council International says, "I'd be really reluctant to sort of encourage people to be carrying guns on an aircraft." Well, what's the alternative? As Captain Rodenberg asks in his letter to the editor, when terrorists enter the cockpit, what are we supposed to do then? Hit them with our purses? No one answer to the hijacker terrorist problem is to arm pilots and let passengers with permits carry their guns on board. Barbara Olson, wife of U.S. Solicitor General Theodore Olson, was one of the passengers who died aboard the American Airlines plane that crashed into the Pentagon. Shortly before this crash, she called her husband on her cell phone and asked, "What should I tell the pilot?" Her husband says she was trying to do something. Well, God bless Barbara Olson for trying to do something. May her soul rest in peace. But what could the pilots on her plane have done? Or any of the pilots on other planes crashed by the hijackers? None of those pilots were armed. None of their passengers were armed. But if the pilots on these crashed planes and or some of their passengers had been armed, there's an excellent chance that the end result would have been 4 planes full of dead terrorist hijackers instead of thousands of innocent dead people in New York City, Washington, D.C., and in Pennsylvania. From Washington, this is Larry Pratt for Gun Owners of America.
For more information on Gun Owners of America, you can call them at 888-886-GUNS. That's 888-886-4867, or find them on the internet at gunowners.org. For folding stocks, for pistol grips, for regular stocks, for replacement stocks, for magazine extension tubes for your shotgun, for magazine replacement springs for your shotgun. How about the Executive Eye Scraper, the Executive Letter Opener, all from Choate Machine & Tool when you call for a free catalog. You can get the Executive Letter Opener, a multi-purpose tool, or the Executive Eye Scraper, a multi-purpose tool, for only your choice, only $2 when you call for a free Choate catalog. You can get both of them for $4, a $10 value. Friends, if you're a shooter or a gun owner, you need one of the Choate Machine & Tool Company catalogs. Call them today, 1-800-972-6390. In Ball Knob, Arkansas, they're helping to support our project. You need one of their catalogs. Again, 1-800-972-6390. And please remember to tell them that you saw it here on our show. And now for our support group, we have Custom Leatherwork and Saddlery in Denham Springs, Louisiana. For your communications needs in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area, call Brooks Communication. And for League of the South information and firearms training, you can call Dennis Crocker. And incidentally, Larry Pratt will be speaking to a group there in the Greenville, South Carolina area on October 13th. For details, or if you'd like to attend, you can call Dennis Crocker, 864-587-8722. We also have Gearlings Equipment Rentals in Southern California for heavy equipment rental, and for pilot services, call Mike and Sherry Harris Pilot Services and Consulting there in South Carolina. Friends,